would you please join me in welcoming to our stage the moderator for our conversation tonight, Scott Mantz from KTLA.
Thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are on a Friday night, the AFI Film Festival, the Chinese Theater. I love seeing a full house for a movie like Is This Thing On? What did you think of the film? I love this film. I adore this movie. I am so excited to moderate tonight's conversation. Please welcome to the stage Academy Award winner and Emmy winner, Laura Dern. And ladies and gentlemen, giving a fearless, game-changing performance, please welcome writer, producer, actor, and multiple Emmy nominee, Will Arnett. As I was telling you as we were walking over here, I love this movie so much that when it finally comes out on Blu-ray, I want to sleep with it under my pillow. That is how much I love this film. But I would love to hear, starting with how the screenplay came about. What was the inspiration? How did you come to co-write this with your collaborators?
Well, as it said at the end of the film, it was inspired by a true story. So the truth is, I was on a boat in Amsterdam. This story's not related to the movie, by the way. No, I was on a boat in Amsterdam, and I was sitting next to a guy. My friend said, "Do you know John Bishop, the stand-up?" And I said, "No." And he said, "John, tell Will the story of how you became a stand-up." And he told me the story about how his marriage was falling apart, and he stumbled into a bar, a pub in England, and they asked him to pay cover, and he didn't want to. And he said, they said, "Well, if you put your name down for the open mic, you can get in for free." And he had no aspirations to be a comedian. He had nothing, and it just blew me away that was a true story. And he went on to become he's quite a big comedian. But that story stuck with me. And then what happened in the evolution of their relationship and how comedy helped him get back to understanding who he was and allowed him to access a part of him that had been inaccessible for a long time. And so I started writing the film, and then I showed it to Bradley, and he wanted to come on, and he helped me, and we wrote it together. And then of course Laura, we were mystified that she said yes. The great Laura Dern, and it just we went from there.
All right, before we get into the Bradley Cooper of it all, Laura, I want to ask you, first of all, last night we had the AFI premiere of Jay Kelly, which Laura is fantastic in. Amazing, amazing film. But Laura, I would love to hear your take on the screenplay when you read it for the first time.
Well, what was so beautiful was I had both Bradley and Will describe the film to me and describe the intent. And it's one thing to be given a script and asked to sort of step into it. And it's another thing to have an invitation to explore this relationship beyond even the words at that point. And it was so beautifully crafted. And, I'm such a radical admirer of Will. He knows this story. But Woody Harrelson and I obsessively would watch Will Arnett monologues and clips from things he's done because we're like, I think he's the greatest actor we have. And we would watch this over and over again, and he knows it's true because Woody did a monologue from Arrested Development of Will's for Will.
He did, to my face.
Yeah.
But it should be noted, that's when Laura came on, it really inspired a whole change and shift in direction in terms of writing this script, because understanding that we were writing for Laura just changed everything and what we wanted that dynamic to be and who Laura is and who this character of Tess could be inhabited by Laura really changed everything. And Laura's ideas and what she wanted and all of that. I mean, it really was such a game changer.
So from what I understand, the change in direction became more about the relationship with the stand-up as part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, it was never really about a guy who becomes, first of all, John Bishop, who was the inspiration. He has gone on to be a very successful comedian. That's not the story that we were telling. We always wanted to tell the story about this relationship. But Laura coming on just absolutely sort of turbo boosted that and really was so much more inspirational to us. And also just her thoughts and her ideas and collaborating with her just, took us to heights that we never could have imagined.
So Bradley Cooper, this is his third film as a director, and I really love A Star Is Born, and I really love Maestro, but I feel like Is This Thing On is Bradley Cooper's very best film yet. I mean, it's only his third movie, but I guess part of the reason for that is because it feels so genuine. It feels, I guess the word is loose.
Yeah, well, certainly we wanted it to feel, look, Bradley is such an incredible, we talk about it all the time, and we got to witness it. Laura and I have both known Bradley a long time. Yeah. Bradley and I were roommates 20 years ago in Venice. It's pretty insane. But we had never worked with him in this way. And so Bradley just, he just did everything and as a director and as an artist, as a filmmaker, all of it. He has such an incredible capacity for everything. Laura mentioned earlier, his vision is amazing. And his ability to kind of execute that vision is just stunning. One of the things that we really wanted to do is we wanted it to feel very genuine and honest. We did, from the way that he shot it, handheld, everything on one lens, in that very specific aspect ratio, the 1:6:6:1, he was really intent on that. And that immediacy that you have, Bradley operated most of the film. Wow. And so, so he was this far, was this close to us at all times. It was very intimate. And we wanted to feel less like you're watching it and more like you're experiencing it, that you're there.
In terms of that intimacy, I feel like there must have been a lot of prep, a lot of rehearsal that went into this, Laura. Did you guys do like a table read where you fleshed the characters out, maybe fleshed out the dialogue or the relationship a little more?
What was so beautiful about the origin of, finding each other through these characters and on this journey was another invitation. First the script and, these incredible characters and what we're witnessing them discover in self and therefore finding their way back to each other. But then it was the invitation to truly discover this relationship. And so even before we were doing a reading of the script or starting to consider, alternatives and ideas that we could explore more, new scenes that you were writing, I mean, they were just endlessly working. Every second you continued to work, and it was so beautiful to watch. But we did a workshop with Bradley that was really an amazing, for me, one-of-a-kind experience. And, Will being an incredible writer and such a beautiful actor is one thing, but the bravery to share everything with another person, and we didn't know each other when we started, and really he took my hand and said, we're going to be married for 26 years in the next 20 minutes. And we did. We really,
Laura knows way too much about me now, is the truth.
But I got to say, when I was watching the film for the first time, I've seen it twice now, I was really just like, this is a revelatory performance from you, Will. I mean, is Will Arnett not amazing in this movie? You had to take a fearless approach to playing Alex. And it must have maybe scared you a little bit too to do something that you had never really done on the big screen or the small screen before. Did it scare you, and how fearless were you in your approach to Alex and Tess?
Yes, is the short answer. It was scary. I've been in and around doing this kind of thing and performing for a long time. I'm 55. I never thought that I would be at a place where I would be feeling so vulnerable and feeling so, for lack of a better word, scared. And, of course, I trust Bradley implicitly. I was able to lean on this long friendship that's very intimate. And then I get to work with Laura, who's unbelievable, and, the great Laura Dern, Academy Award winner. Yeah.
I make him say that every time he says my name. So weird.
It's daunting, and I had to kind of really come to terms with that, and yeah, every day was a leap for me, because, look, the truth is, this is the kind of thing I always had wanted to do. When I first, 35 years ago, was just a dumb kid from Canada who moved to New York, and these are the kinds of things I wanted to do. Stuff like this, and my life went a different way, just because that's life. Yeah. And I'm very happy. I've been very fortunate in a lot of ways, but this kind of opportunity never came around, and I kind of lost sight of why I came here in the first place. And so doing this was really it made me feel like a kid, and it made me feel like, holy shit, it only took me 35 years to do the thing that I really wanted to do. And I feel really fortunate that Bradley helped me achieve that opportunity, and that I got to do it with Laura. So I just tried to surrender to the experience and just be open and be vulnerable. And yeah, it's scary. I mean, I got like I said, I'm 55. I've got 3 kids. I feel like, an adult, and boy, I felt like a kid.
Well, bravo to you, both of you.
And I just wanted to add, and Will can speak to this, as we were starting, we'd had these experiences in our workshop and rehearsed, and now we're just about to start the journey. And speaking of vulnerability, I got to bear witness to Will, as Alex, start to go to comedy clubs and do stand-up, and the vulnerability of that, and do stand-up not to be funny, but to be a guy who'd never been there before and didn't know what he was doing, and just, started talking to people and sharing a story. Can you talk about that? Was such a beautiful thing to it.
It was very weird. So I'd never done stand-up before, and people were like, yeah, obviously. And and so we wrote all this stand-up for Alex, and so last January, when we really were in prep, started going to the Comedy Cellar every night, and I'd go up most nights like 3 times, and then during the day we'd go back and we'd work on the stand-up for Alex's stand-up for the different, as he progresses through the film, and I'd go out to the cellar. I was living on Sullivan Street, and they'd walk over to McDougal at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and tell the guy, introduce me, and they'd say, here he is for the first time on stage, Alex Novak, and I'd go out as Alex Novak. I think some people thought I was having a nervous breakdown, maybe. Some people were like, wait, I think I've seen you, that's not your name. And it was really trippy, and it was really, but never having done it before, always loved stand-up and have respect for comics, newfound respect, and it's really frightening. And probably doing that helped me, really kind of break through that vulnerability, because there's nowhere to hide. You just go out there and you're just doing it. And as Laura said, you're not going out there with a bunch of jokes, so
Wait,
it's weird.
Hey, back up 1 second here. You said you were doing prep in January of this year?
We wrapped at the end of April of this year. So we just wrapped, and I mean, Bradley finished. We showed the film at New York Film Festival on a Friday, and he just finally turned in everything on the Tuesday before.
That is amazing.
I mean, this
turnaround.
movie's
Yeah.
a very 2025 film. We did it all in 2025. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What's it like to work in that? Like, yeah, that definitely deserves a round of applause. What's it like, Laura, to work in that capacity? And how did all, well, both of you with TV, I mean, you work very, very quickly. Did that, make it helpful for you working that fast on a feature film?
Well, I'm lucky to have started in independent film, and, it was always the way, with a smaller film that you're, making it in 33 days in this case. And I think Bradley had that feeling too of, wow, we're back to, our origin of grabbing the camera, getting out in the street, knowing we don't have permits, trying to get a shot.
I mean, we didn't have full lock-off on McDougal Street in front of the Comedy Cellar. It did feel like indie filmmaking in the best way.
Yeah.
Everything. There's no video village. There's no standing around. From the moment everybody's there, from the moment that crew call, everybody's working that second, all of us, and you're just on set. It wasn't big trailers and all that kind of shit. It was gritty, and grab a piece of sidewalk to sit down, and just go, and it was, and in that way, it really felt, sort of the art of the filmmaking felt like that was the most important thing,
Okay, so what I love about the film is there's so many takes that are complete, that are longer takes, and the scene in particular. I mean, there's quite a few, but I love the scene where he says, or she says, "We stopped having each other's backs." I mean, that went on, and I just would love to hear how many times you shot that.
I'd love to hear about that. Will, do you want to share with the audience what that experience was like?
I mean, I guess we can. So, okay, here goes. That scene, obviously, a really pivotal scene, and we knew it's one of those scenes that you kind of look and you say, okay, well, this is coming up on the schedule, and we went to shoot it. We shot that on a stage in Queens, and we rebuilt the attic in there. And obviously, for New York tax reasons, there are no New York tax people here, right? So we got in there. My recollection, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. We got in there. Laura, Bradley, and I rehearsed all mornings, starting before crew call, just the three of us. Everybody was there, and we were in that room. We rehearsed all the way till lunch, broke for lunch, came back, and it was just the three of us in there, because it was just this enclosed room, and Bradley operating, Laura and me, very intimate, and we shot for a number of hours, just the three of us. And then we broke, and it was a Friday. And we decided that we weren't sure that we were happy with what we got. Yeah, and Bradley was unsure if this was what we wanted and that he wanted. And so we came back on the second to last day. Yeah. On the second to last day, and shot the whole thing again. And we were really lucky because we had we were very efficient in the way that we shot, as Laura says, 33 days. But we made up a lot of time because we shot really, really quickly, and so we had the time to do it. And we came back, and that was actually a real turning point in terms of the shooting of the film too. Everything that we shot after that. That day was a very difficult Friday for all of us. We were really spent, and there were a flurry of phone calls between Laura and me and Bradley and the three of us. We all talked all weekend long, it was kind of a tipping point about, or a watershed moment in the film in terms of our relationship, the three of us, our relationship, and also a relationship with Bradley and what we all wanted. And I think we all took the time. We needed the time. It had been very intense up until that point, and we took the weekend and we came back. And in fact, we came back on the Monday morning and we shot a scene in the hospital, which is we didn't have room for in the film. It's a great scene where one of the kids breaks his arm. That's not why it's great. And just in case, I know, social media people are like, Will Arnett says kid breaking his arm is.
Favorite part of
I know
that.
how this world works. But it was a great scene where Tess comes in and she says to Alex, "Were you not paying attention?" And I'm like, "No, this guy came by on one of those electric bikes," and we get in an argument about whose fault it is. But that scene, and it's a pity it's not in that scene. I don't even know if you ever saw the final. It's a great scene. And because for whatever reason, we had to have that Friday to get through the rest of the film. At the time, what felt like a thing like, are we going the right way, turned out to be the best thing to happen to all of us, to us, certainly, to us with Bradley. And so then when we came back, and there are different pieces of it in that last cut. Yeah, so it was that's why Laura said, "Do you want to be honest?"
But it was amazing to go through that together because we explored everything that happens between two people who love each other. All the pain, all the rage, all the vulnerability, stuff that
Every level of it.
shouldn't be in there, but it's like by going through all of it, and in fact then went into our love scene, with our journey back to each other after we did that too, which was an amazing thing to have.
we knew it had to we had to at that point really earn everything else, and we had to feel like we had earned that moment, and that it was, and give it, it's a great. This is a big moment for Tess, not just for Alex and Tess, but for Tess too, when she really sort of speaks her truth. Because we've seen Alex speak his truth a lot, and so it's really important for Tess in this moment and for their dynamic, and also to really earn Alex going and doing that final vampire set, that shot where Alex walks down the hallway, and then all of a sudden you realize that he's walking onto set, and does that final vampire set. We had to earn that too.
The other scene that I love, of course, it's near the end. So hearing "Let's Be Unhappy Together" is the 2025 version of "Here's Looking at You, Kid." How did that bit of dialogue? So it's like such a beautiful, honest, vulnerable admission. Let's be unhappy together. I mean, how did that line come about?
That's Bradley. That's all Bradley. That whole last scene on the porch where he says, I was unhappy in our marriage. I wasn't unhappy with our marriage. And let's be unhappy together. That was all Bradley, a really pure inspiration from him. He rewrote that scene and he wrote that dialogue. Amazing. And it was again, one of those things. There are so many great moments where Bradley did things that just, that scene, coming in, writing the scene where Balls comes in, where Bradley's character comes back with the bagels. Yeah, I mean, we had the scene with the dad. We understood, but we needed to have that. We needed that moment. We needed to have the fool come and give him the information that finally lands. And Bradley, one morning, I remember just before we were shooting, it was early one morning, I was having coffee at home, about to leave to go to work, and he texted me that scene. And he said, "I think I got it." Wow. And so many moments like that where Bradley's genius just shone through.
So one last question I just want to ask. So one of the reasons that all these emotions are so earned, that you get to the end and you just feel like you've just watched a soul-bearing, a very, very, very relatable a relationship, is because of how lived in it feels, and that includes the kids. And I just would love to hear about how you liked working with the actors who played your kids.
They were great, right?
They were amazing. I mean, and it's the kids and his incredible, brilliant parents, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Christine
and
Ebersole and Ciarán Hinds. I mean,
Legend.
yeah.
Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And just the family unit, what surrounds this relationship. And of course, our friends, like all of it together was amazing. And the boys were incredible.
They were incredible, and they're 11, and to come into a very adult setting, of course, and to take direction and to understand and to be sensitive to what's going on in some of those scenes. The scenes with Tess and the kids in the bedroom where we're talking about really heavy things. The scenes in the car with Alex with their dad, where they find the notebook. The scenes at the house with the grandparents, and there's a lot of chaos. These kids stepped up and were just unbelievable. It's just incredible. I mean, really great artists. Yeah.
All right, so 2 announcements. First of all, 3 actually. Thank you for being here, but also please stay seated while we exit. That would really, really help us out. And also, all right, this is really important. Now that you've seen the movie, every seat in this theater is full, and this is exactly how we love watching movies. So now that you've seen it, how do you spread the word about movies? You go on social media. So spread the word. Go on Facebook, go on TikTok, go on Instagram. If you want to use X, that's totally fine. Knock yourself out. Is This Thing On opens in theaters on December 19th. Spread the word. Thank you all for being here. Will Arnett, Laura Dern,
much.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank you for a beautiful conversation.